Hey guys, it's Mandy. Before we dive into this week's episode, I want to take a minute to thank my patrons. You are the ones making this possible. You are the ones keeping restorative grief both on the airwaves and in the lives of people who need grief support and a better understanding of how to support themselves through their losses. So if you're interested in joining us, you can visit my website, mandykpart.com, for all the links to check out the premium episodes and premium content that are available to you by becoming a patron. Welcome back to Restorative Grief with Mandy Capehart. You are listening to episode 69, titled Honoring Our Souls and Our Stories with Lisa Espinoza. This week, my guest, Lisa Espinoza, is an author and a certified grief counselor who began the year 2019 with the devastating loss of her vivacious 25-year-old son. While this was not her first encounter with grief, the way she learned to move through loss and reintegrate it with her story and her soul started with learning how to honor her son, Chandler. As you can imagine, the conversation between us was rich and went a lot of different directions. So I hope that you find something meaningful in Lisa's story that will move the needle for you as you work toward your own healing. Well, welcome to Restorative Grief, Lisa. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm very grateful to have you here. I was learning a little bit about your story and realizing we have a lot of lines that cross between the two of us. But
Yeah.
why don't you take a moment and just let our audience know a little bit about who you are?
Okay. Well, I wish that I were on a different podcast to
Yep.
begin with. So I am not new to the grief journey. I lost my mom when I was 18. She had lung cancer. And so that was my first introduction, and I did it all wrong. And they say you can't grieve wrong, but you can. There are ways to grieve in ways that keep you stuck. And I did that's kind of I checked all the boxes you don't want to check when you lose someone that you love. And so then about 3 years ago, my youngest son Chandler was in a biking accident, and after 18 days in the hospital he passed away. And so though the grief journey was not new to me, it was very different. It feels different when you lose a child than when you lose your parent, and not one worse than the other. It's just a different shape of pain.
Mhm.
So by then, and going through life, I'm not just past puberty, let's say. I am experienced. And so through life you learn some things. So by the time we'd lost Chandler, there were some things I knew not to do, and learning some things to do. And so that's kind of how I came to I journaled every day. So to keep people updated on Chandler's progress or lack thereof when he was in the hospital, I started a caring bridge at the urging of a friend. I didn't want to, but my friend said, no, you're a writer, you need to do this, it'll be good for you, it'll keep people updated, and you can help people by processing this kind of out loud, so to speak. So I did that, and I began to get people telling me that me processing out loud honestly was helping them in their own pain. And so after Chandler passed, I found out that he wanted to be a writer. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to do it every single day for the first year. After we lost him on January 1st of 2019. And I said, I'm going to write every single day. And I did. I wrote every single day when there was not anything left in me. But I was like, no, Chandler, you and I are doing this together. We're going to do this. And at the end of the 1 year, I thought, I want this to be in a form that's like a legacy to Chandler and his desire to write. And I want it to be in a form that people can pick up and read and go, okay, I feel like I can't put one foot in front of the other because I've just lost my loved one. I wonder what it looked like for someone else that lost a loved one in 6 months or 8 months. in real time. So, so this book, first that I have now, First Brush Your Teeth, it's called First Brush Your Teeth, Grief and Hope in Real Time. It's not a retrospective. This is what this looks like today, 3 months after my son died. So I think from the feedback I'm getting, it's not a book just of grief. It's a book of hope and even joy. Because to find joy after you've lost a loved one honors that loved one and their life. So that's kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. And I wish I weren't, but that's kind of why you're doing what you're doing. We wish we had a different kind of podcast to do.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it when you said that. I was like, oh, that's my first line too, is this is not the work I ever wanted to do. And I honestly love it, but also really despise it.
Yes, 100%.
I love the premise. It's such a fresh take on writing our stories, but doing it in real time in that day-to-day dedication. That takes a lot of vulnerability to write every day, especially when you know that some days there are no words.
Yes. The part that was really hard was, like you said, the days where there were no words, or the days where it took all my emotional energy to do what I needed to do that day. But I needed to write, and it would be 11 o'clock at night. And I would think, I have nothing. And I would just write. And a friend of mine asked me a few months in, is there ever a day where you don't have anything to write? And other than just having no words because you're emotionally just depleted, I said, when the end of a day comes and I don't have anything, that feels like a little piece of normal, and it's kind of good, because it means I wasn't just sucked under that day.
I think there's a lot too to the idea that if we get to the end of our day and we are empty, we see that as such a negative, and yet we were so meaningful and intentional and in pouring out whatever it was we were carrying during the day. That
Yeah.
kind of, to your point, maybe it was actually a really valuable thing that we got to the end and we had nothing left to say. Maybe we said all that was needed to be said that day.
Yeah.
Moving
Yeah.
through it.
That is a really good point. And you're right, because some days you get to the end of the day and you're like, I have nothing left, because it took all of my energy to, again, do the things I had to do. But to your point, sometimes you get to the end of the day and go, I spent it all talking to people that somehow gained something from my story. And that makes me feel good. And I'm empty, but it's a good empty. I love that you brought out that point, because it's true.
Oh, good. Yeah. I'm thinking a little bit too about, as a writer, the pressure you must have felt to, not in the vulnerable sense, but the pressure you must have felt with the caring bridge, even to take
Yeah.
time and really essentially give yourself homework, even as you are grieving on behalf of other people. What was your initial reaction to that friend who said, hey, other people need this from you?
I've often said she suggested / nagged. Um, she knows who she is. She's a very persuasive friend, and is able to get people to do lots of things. She's a leader. But my first response was, yeah, it's not that I am not kind of an open book and vulnerable. It's that it felt like I don't want the world to see my son like this, in my words, because he was the most full of life, just vibrant, strong, live in the moment human being you would ever meet. And then to see him in the hospital bed the way he was, I didn't want people to think of him like that. So for me to share, I'm hurting, and that part's easier, but to know that my son Chandler was out there in the world with my words in a way that was so physically broken, I wanted people to, think of Chandler and think jumping off of things and doing flips and, defying gravity and body surfing and all the things he loved to do. So that part was very hard, and I resisted for that reason. And I never published a picture and have not published a picture of him in the hospital. I said when I was writing every day, I'll publish pictures when he comes home, when he's out of the hospital. And since he didn't come home, I've not shared pictures. I don't want the world to remember that. I think there's one picture in the book where I'm leaned over his bed and I'm holding his hand, and my head's down on his bed, but he's not really in the picture.
Mm.
That's the hard part for me. I want the world to remember Chandler alive.
Well, and especially because you're not telling only your story, you're telling his story. And
Yeah.
he told his story in such a vibrant and playful, passionate way. It seems unfair almost to say, let me rewrite an ending for you.
Yes. That I love the way you said that. I love that because
Mm.
you're right. His story was, I didn't even know how big his story was until all of his friends started streaming into the hospital room, because Chandler was like, touchdown home, and then I'm with my friends, and touchdown home, and I'm gonna it seemed like every day or weekend or whatever, he was going to somebody's birthday party, and I thought, he is making this up. There's no way somebody has this many friends, but he did. And just he just loved people where they were. He didn't expect you to change. He wasn't judgmental. He just was present with people where they were, and that taught me a lot. And I have a lot of growing to do in that respect.
Mm.
But you're right. I can't. I could never rewrite the end to a story that was so, you know, epic in terms of, I don't mean epic like globally, but in his world,
Yeah.
it was epic. And I think you're right. I think people do remember his story,
Yeah.
his Chandler story.
Well, and you made space for that. And I think that that's a really loving gesture because there's a myth of closure that would be involved for you to, even as a writer, clean up the story. This is how it ended and package it well. But it's such a generous thing for you as a parent and a writer, but especially as a parent, to say, actually, we're going to preserve in a way that doesn't romanticize and glorify what his life was, but just to honor the humanity of who he was and how he lived his life intentionally and with others, and how that can be what we remove from the story for ourselves.
Yeah, because his life was, I mean, he was 25, and to just characterize his whole life by what
Mm.
happened in 18 days,
Yeah.
that's just it's not accurate, and it's not fair to his story.
Yeah. Chandler is obviously not your only child. Your family experiencing this 18 days and your writing of it during that time. But even beyond that, how has that shaped how your family has worked through this loss?
I knew that my kids were amazing human beings, but through
Mm.
this, it just, I don't even, grateful doesn't even begin to express
Mm.
how I feel about my kids. When the first night when Shannon was in the hospital, I didn't see this because I was already in the room with him. But when, because I'd gone in first, and my kids, when they finally were able to come in, someone told me that, the automatic doors to the ICU opened. My kids joined hands and walked down the hall together to their brother's room. That's what's happened since then. Is we don't pretend like any of us are perfect. We're not. We have, just as much stuff as any family has, but I think going through this made us realize that in all of our imperfection, we are one another's fan, and we have each other's back, and we're in this together. My kids have shown up for me on Mother's Days, birthday, and just for each other. They're just good human beings. And I think we've all expressed in one way or another what we've learned from Chandler. And we're under no delusions that Chandler was perfect. He like did crazy stuff and stuff that parents would go, oh, please no. And we're real clear on that. But we're even more clear on that he was a good human, and you don't have to be the best behaved, so to speak, to be just a really good human.
Yeah.
And I think we've all learned from that.
Mm.
But I guess the bottom line is I'm so I don't even know how I got these kids. And we've been there for each other. It's not been, oh, mom and dad carry us, or we've been there for each other.
Mm. I'm interested to hear, speaking of being there for one another, the contrast between losing your mom at 18 and losing Chandler. You'd mentioned that you did all the opposite things of what we would want to do in grief. And so, with my audience, I tend to frame things as harmful or helpful rather than good or
That's
bad
good.
or right or wrong,
That's
right?
good.
So, I would love for you to lay out what you, especially as a professional, to experience as experienced as harmful in your grief processing versus, what you experienced now and are experiencing as helpful. Because I think the more we can reinforce personal stories to the different things that we tell people would help them, the
Yes.
more it becomes tangible and meaningful for those who are grieving.
Well, I'm the case study. I'm the poster that says like the what not to wear, um, that in the grief realm. So when my mom died, I was so young, and I know this might harken to your previous podcast. I was raised in a very uh, conservative, but that wasn't the gist of it. I was raised in a very religious culture,
Mhm.
and which was, faith is central to my life still. But in that sort of context, and the narratives were, if you just pray hard enough, your mom will, be healed of lung cancer. And so I did, man. I prayed, I fasted, I did all the things. I was good. I was just, did all the right things so that, she would be healed, and she wasn't. And so when the time came to just face the reality, I've lost my mother. um I kind of denied how important just her body was. Like, I'm like, she's not in there, she's not in that body, she's in heaven now. So why should I be all sad about it when my mom's now in heaven? And so in that process of not accepting, this is pre-grief, so it's sort of the anticipatory grief, is to say, okay, she's got this terminal illness, but instead of accepting it and really living into the moments I had left with her, I just kept praying that she was going to be healed. I moved to Alaska with my husband. We were youth pastors until I got a call that said, your mom's on morphine in the hospital.
Mm.
You probably need to get home. So I flew back, and thankfully I was there with her for a week, and then she passed. But had I been able to accept the reality,
Mm.
I would have just spent that time with her and made wonderful memories with her. So that's even just leading up to, is that acceptance of reality. We always have hope, hope is always alive, but also, you know, if you don't accept reality, you you skip over moments that could really matter in your life. And
Mm.
so instead of just pretending and not being present, because everything's gonna be okay anyway. So then she dies, and I put her makeup on her in her casket.
Wow.
Like, I'm 18 and I'm putting the makeup on my mom in her casket, because I'm telling myself it's just her body. She's not in there anymore. She's in heaven. It's just her body. And I sang at her funeral, and I didn't cry. And few weeks later, when we were back in Alaska and back, doing our jobs up, my husband was a youth pastor up there. I was a bank teller. And then it just broke. Like I would have nightmares. I would cry. I would like have nightmares about my mom. I would see her coming to me, but in ways that weren't like healing and good. It was just horrible. It was just horrible. And it was all of the pent up. I refused to grieve because my mom's in heaven and it's just her body here. And that just sets you up for being stuck. And that's exactly what I did to myself. Now I was young and I give myself grace, but I did learn through it that, yeah, it was her body, but that's the body that held me. That's the body that hugged me when I would scrape my knee. Those are the hands that would give me, back in the day when we thought Twinkies were still okay to eat, she would give me like a plate of Twinkies and some milk after school. Those were the hands that did that. And it's just a body, but the body matters. That's how we encounter each other on this planet. And so to minimize the fact that, it's just her body, her spirits, and she's not in pain anymore. How wonderful. Yeah, well, it's crappy for me though. It's crappy for me because I want her body here and her spirit. So I learned, don't minimize the loss. And you gotta let yourself feel what you feel. You can't pretend it's something different than it is. So those are a couple of the main things that when I lost Chandler, it was already deep in me to know that, yeah, don't say, oh, but now he's no. This is, I could say a few choice words about what it is. It's not something I would sign up for. So that's kind of the case study of what not to do.
So much of your story, I'm not kidding, is so similar to mine and how I lost my mom. She also had lung cancer and all the things. It's amazing to me how our understanding of faith and application of faith translates into this disintegration of the body as part of who we are and
Yes.
the way that we experience life. And as you said, the world and interact and engage with people. It's such a meaningful part of our whole self. And yet we have no ability to hold it as a valuable thing because we also have a conflicting belief that says it's but dust. It's meaningless.
Yes.
It's going to pass away. So it's fine. And that distortion prevents us from actually experiencing restoration. We
Yes.
experience a form of resilience, but it's fragile because the second an emotion is triggered, that resilience falls away and everything we've stuffed inside us surfaces again. And
I love that. It's a form of resilience, but it's fragile.
yeah.
That's it in a nutshell.
I experienced it myself. And so when I witness it in other people or sense it, right, see it in other people coming, it triggers this tenderness that reminds me, okay, you don't get to storm in and say that all the platitudes you hold precious are garbage. There's a lot of meaning in allowing someone to ask some gentle questions of themselves in that same way that you have been able to do, and just teach them what it looks like to be curious and to know that, like, it's okay if you can only feel this feeling for 4 minutes. It's a
Yes,
long time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But those 4 minutes, like for what I found was, and I still 3 years later believe this, you physically cannot absorb it all at once.
Right.
You can't. I mean, sometimes I still look at Chandler. I have pictures of him downstairs, this collage, and I look at it and I still have moments where I'm like, no, you can't be gone. You're my son. You went down the stairs, went to work, said goodbye, I love you, mom. You have to come back. Like, and I know it's insane. It's not, but there's something in me that still hasn't absorbed. And it's not denial. It's just, you cannot physically, emotionally absorb it all at once. So that 4 minutes you mentioned, that little window, if you allow yourself just a window to feel what you feel, and then maybe you do have to go, no, that's as much as I can feel right now. And maybe in the next week or month, you feel it for 10 minutes or 20, or maybe you take an hour and you're just sobbing. Or you sit with their things and you hold them and smell what they smelled like. And but to give yourself the grace to say, I can't absorb it all at once, and that's okay. But I will give myself windows, because I do need to feel what I feel. I can't stuff it. I can't redirect it. I can't minimize it, or I guess I could. But like you said, to be healthy and to honor my loved one, to me, that's one of the main things. And I have this ring that a friend gave me that says WWHC, what would honor Chandler? Because one of the things I wrote about was, what would honor Chandler right now? It would not honor my son for me to go into my closet and not come out. My son loved that I could do push-ups. I'm going to keep doing freaking push-ups. He loved that I dance. I loved that he danced. I dance I dance while I'm cleaning house. I don't even need, if I'm in a store and a song comes on that I want to dance to, I'll dance. It honors my son for me to do the things that bring me joy and that feed my soul. He was a very soulful individual. He got it better than I do. Like, I read a journal that he wrote when he was in India. He was in India for like 2 or 3 months, kind of an adventure. And the things he wrote, they were so deep and profound and beyond where I am, even spiritually. Like, I'm just now learning some of the things he already knew. And it honors him when I keep my curiosity at the forefront, when I continue to learn and grow and be willing to see things differently and get out there and have adventures and live my life. That honors my son. It would not honor my son if I said no to joy.
I think one of the things that holds people back often about a 4-minute window of feeling their feelings is not knowing how to bring it to an end, not knowing how to plug the waterworks or
Yep.
prepare a coping mechanism ahead of time. So you can quickly turn on the video games or grab a book or run out the door, do something that breaks that waterfall, so to speak. But also, I hear the same thing from people who are in your position saying, I live to honor this person, but I go too far. Or someone will say, hey, you're going too far. All you ever do is think about is your person, or talk about your person. And it's too much. It's too much. You're feeling too much, or you're not feeling enough, right? It's never, no one's ever satisfied with our process, which that's a whole nother conversation.
Did you find that, because early on, you don't know what you're doing. You're just trying to figure it out a minute at a time and an hour at a time, a day at a time. Did you keep asking yourself, am I crying too much today? Or am I crying too little today? Or do I feel too sad today? Or do I not feel sad enough today? Like, trying to figure out, am I doing this right? Because I don't want to do it all in an unhealthy way. I want to do it in a way that does bring my life health and honors my loved one. Am I doing that? Should I feel more sad today? Should I feel less sad today? Like, did you feel any of that?
I gave myself a full week. Like, the day she died, I said, I have a week. And I was a mother at the time. It didn't mean a lot to me. Because I see so many people who are in pain around mothers who they can't connect with, mothers who are physically present but mentally absent or emotionally absent, mothers who don't exist, infertility issues, all of the things around parenting that are so easily minimized for the sake of celebrating moms.
Absolutely.
That I tend to let my family off the hook for it every time. And so I was more proud that I didn't binge any food. I just ate really well. Okay, nourishment is something necessary that we often don't receive in grief. And so this is a season to really press into what nourishment means, and for my whole self, for my body, but also for my mind, my heart, and my spirit. It made a significant difference.
I've had a love-hate relationship with Mother's Day. So growing up, it was all great. Go and buy either the thing that was Polly Pocket small or like Incredible Hulk large, or whatever it was. My mom would just, oh, I love it. It's so wonderful, honey. And it was, Mother's Day was great. After my mom died, I'm with you. I'm like, I hate Mother's Day. I hate Mother's Day. Then when I became a mom, I mean, it was different because it was quite a ways down the road after I lost her so young. That at one point the gut punch wasn't there anymore.
Mhm.
I could go through a Mother's Day and not feel just this heavy weight.
Yeah.
And then, having my own kids, and then that's all it was, great. But I still think there is such, like you said, this woo woo about Mother's Day, and yet, the reality. There are so many moms whose kids may live at home, but the relationship is just horrid. And maybe they're not celebrating their mother, even though they live with them. Or there's the one that wants to be a mom so desperately, and the infertility, or there's just so many scenarios in which this glorified day where it's all about moms. It's like, I get it. It's, I don't need a special day for
Right.
my kids to honor me. I have a birthday, they can honor me on my birthday. But then so I just look at it now as, this is my excuse to tell my kids we're all having dinner and we're going to play games, or we're going to
Yeah.
go for a hike, or we're going to do some fun thing, or we'll have dinner that night, but I'm going to shop all day long as much as I want, and just amble about and do my own thing.
I love that.
So I kind of look at it as my day of, I just get to do what I want.
Yeah.
But I'm always cognizant of, there's just so much pain with any day that's set up as, oh, here's the paradigm, here's the um the model of motherhood or fatherhood, and we're going to celebrate that today. And really, how many of our families have that perfect model of anything? But
Right.
that's the day you're supposed to pretend you do.
Right. I like to say that it's very meaningless to honor me on Mother's Day if you don't cover all the stuff that I normally do in a day. And then I have
Yeah.
to go and do twice as much the next day. I'm like, don't, if you
Yeah.
want to get serious about Mother's Day, like we always cleaned the house for my mom. That was all that we did. I mean, we did other things, but there was always cleaning involved because
Yes.
she kept a tidy house. And I'm like, if you're going to rest, then you have to be able to actually give, again, going back to the value of your body, you have to give your body something restorative.
Mhm.
And eh, delaying the inevitable work is not it.
Oh, that's exactly right. So tomorrow I get to clean the pan that you made the cake
Gee,
in,
thanks.
and
Yeah.
all the things. Thank you. Yes. That word restorative, I love that, because you're right. There's so many facets of grieving in a healthy way. And I found early on that I needed to just be intentional about, okay, I need to get off the couch and walk. I just
Mhm,
need to take a walk,
mhm,
because I could get stuck here trying to figure out, what do I do next? What do I do? How do I live my life when my son's gone?
mhm.
But just to get up and walk. I remember early on, one of my goals was to make a spinach smoothie, because that's part of my regular, normal thing is I make a
Right.
spinach smoothie that's delicious. It sounds yucky, but it's really good. But I didn't have the energy. It was too many steps. Like,
Yeah.
you had to get things out of the refrigerator and put them in a blender. And it was just too, I couldn't do it.
Yep.
And I think about 3 weeks after, I was so grateful because I made myself a spinach smoothie.
Mhm.
One morning I did have brownies for breakfast, but I'm like, you know what? I lost my son. I can have brownies for breakfast.
Yeah.
So I can do whatever the heck I want right now. But the restorative part was the yoga and the walking and the
Mhm.
meditation and the journaling and the eating things that were good for me, doing things that filled up my soul. Goat yoga was one of the best things I did. That was on Mother's Day, the day before Mother's Day, the first Mother's Day without Chandler. My daughter and I went to goat yoga. And I'm telling you, I've never done something more fun and joyful in my life.
Oh man,
You
it's
have to do
still on
goat
my
yoga.
list. It's on my list. I haven't found anywhere locally that does it, but yes, it is absolutely high on my list. Oh, okay, Lisa, I want to ask you one more question because I think that one of the most important things you've talked about here is, what would honor Chandler? And so I look at the stories of people who are not honored by Mother's Day, who are damaged or hurt by it. And I think, what about the hearts? What advice would you give to people who maybe lost someone through a strained relationship or who are trying to honor their own stories and their own souls, but also honor their person, and they have no idea where to begin, what advice would you have for them?
Yeah, that's what we call complicated grief. And those are the times when, as hard as it is to lose someone, it's even harder when you've got these conflicting emotions,
Mhm.
about a difficult relationship. And a lot of times, one of the things that you can do, first of all, grace. I mean, that's that you just have to let grace upon grace be present for yourself and your story. You have to, I think, reshape your narrative through a lens of grace. That's the first thing.
Mm.
And then sit down and write a letter and say all the things, and say what you wish could have been tied up. Say what you wish could have been resolved.
Mm.
And then be that as it may, and write that out. Be that as it may, I choose to let this go and let my narrative be marked by grace
Mm.
and remember you with grace.
Mm. Um, I hope someone hears this and genuinely feels empowered to do that, because there's resistance that I can even sense in the listening audience in the future, thinking, okay, sure, that's nice to say. But I truly hope that someone hears what you've said and decides to give it a shot, because what's the worst you can, I mean, I say this often to people, is that grief has already upended your world. And
Yes.
all of these things we ask you as grief professionals to do, whether it's meditation or yoga or journaling or reconciliation or boundary work, whatever it is we're asking you to step into, it's going to be hard and it's going to cost you something, but grief has already cost you an awful lot. It's worth adding to whatever discomfort or unclear circumstances you have for a chance at finding something that moves the needle for you towards healing and towards realignment. So,
Well, it's like you said, what do you have to lose? Um, Bitterness or unforgiveness, I've heard, is like, drinking poison and expecting the other
sure.
person to die.
Yeah.
Um, and when I say I don't want to be glib about certain circumstances, there are
Right.
certain circumstances that are going to take a lot of, I believe in therapy, and they're
Mm.
going to take a lot of therapy. It's a
Yeah.
process. So if there are things like that, you're right. It's not as simple as, oh, sit down and write a letter. And
Mm.
there are some circumstances where that is really appropriate. There are
Mhm.
others where you need to say, no, I need to be damn angry right now.
Mhm.
Like there were some things done to me that were wrong. And yes, this person is gone, but I'm going to need to do some work. In the
Yeah.
end, I want to forgive for me,
Right.
for my health.
Yeah.
But it's going to take some work to get there. And that is okay too.
Yeah, I actually think anger is an incredible tool for healing and grief. People are so quick to dismiss it or try and not feel it or hide it. And every time it kind of goes back to the same thing when I sense something is under the surface with people. I'm like, oh, that's a feeling you should definitely feel. You should
Mhm.
ask a lot of questions. Let me help you get some language, ask some good questions
Yes.
about anger. Cause I tell you what, the day I decided to fall in love with anger, my anger, my own experience with rage, everything shifted for me because I no longer was operating from a place of, oh, I'm ashamed that I'm angry or that I'm still angry,
Yeah.
right? And put a time frame on things. So,
Yeah, I had to be mad at my mom because she smoked my whole life.
mm,
And I would beg her to stop smoking. I knew
mhm,
it was going to kill her. I just knew, even as a young child, I knew it was going to kill her.
yeah,
And then she got lung cancer. And I had to get honest about that and go, I'm angry. Why couldn't you I begged you to stop. Why couldn't you stop?
hmm,
Um, I had to feel angry.
right,
Um, so you're right that sometimes the anger is the thing you have to go through to
mhm,
get to your own healing,
yep,
which you deserve.
yes. Oh man, Lisa, I feel like you and I could talk for a very long time.
I wish we didn't have this in common.
I know. That's the problem is we find all these wonderful people and we're like, crap, we're all really brokenhearted. Okay, well, at least we're not navigating this in a vacuum,
Yes.
because otherwise, I mean, I've tried navigating it in a vacuum and it just doesn't serve me or anyone around me, at least not well. So, Lisa, where can people get a hold of you if they're interested in talking with you or hearing more about your story?
Yeah, so my website is lisaespinoza.com, and I'm on Facebook, author Lisa Espinoza,
Mhm.
and then Instagram Lisa.espinoza. And I post silly things about my puppies and crazy, like it just, I'm kind of what you see is what you get kind of person. So it's
Good.
just all out there.
We don't have time to pull masks down anyway, so it
So,
works out just fine.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for making time and sharing your precious story and telling us all about Chandler because you're right. He sounds vivacious and inspiring. So I'm
Thank you.
excited.
Thank you for letting me share my story. Just
Absolutely.
means the world to me.
Thank you for listening to episode 69 of Restorative Grief. I completely personally relate to Lisa's anecdote over losing her mother about how she believed you could simply pray hard enough and all would resolve. The lesson we carry forward from that about recognizing the importance of embodiment and the way we honor ourselves as humans is so necessary because we are whole humans, encountering the world around us through our physical bodies. So, learning to resist the disintegration of our stories from ourselves, even though it may feel safer, is the first way we can release the tension of stuckness and begin moving through the grief instead. If this is your first time listening to Restorative Grief, thank you for making time to bring this story from Lisa into your life. As she said a number of times, I hate that we have this in common. But the truth is, we actually carry a lot of similarities around grief, especially with everyone around us. The more we make time to hold space for each other, bearing witness to our best and worst moments, the fuller and richer our experience as humans becomes. Please take a moment to subscribe to the show, leave a review, and consider becoming a patron of the show. Remember, there's also ways to connect with Lisa or learn more about her work in the show notes. And so I hope you'll do that because she's incredible. And one last thing, please remember, the only solution for grief is to do the work of grieving. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week.